Hello everybody, my name is Zoe Rebekah. Welcome back to my channel, and today's video is going to be kind of focused on my writing journey, my poetry journey. Not only like promoting my book, which is obviously going to be in here because I do have a book out called An Erratic Anthology of My Psychology by me, Zoe Frenchman, and it's out on Amazon, so you can go buy yourself a copy on Kindle or paperback. Working on the hardcover now. Yeah, so that book is out, and I was really hoping that I could just kind of sit down and make a video with you guys in depth on how I really got into writing, how I got into poetry, maybe even including a few examples of my poetry, not that's in the book, but I have plenty of other poetry that's not in the book. So I'm going to kind of give you a few examples of my poetry, kind of just explain how I got into writing, and just kind of talk about how I think writing could help anyone, because I just think it's such a beautiful, eloquent art, and I just feel like it's so interesting for me to read other people's work and for other people to read my work. I love hearing feedback from other people reading my work, and I love reading other people's work for inspiration and just admiration and respect for other writers. I just feel like writing is such a beautiful kind of art form, and my last video was talking about how I use art as like a therapeutic technique and different forms of art, but this is going to be more focused on how I got into writing, and writing specifically, and writing as an art form specifically. So I just wanted to make a video about that because I really wasn't into writing as much when I was last making videos in 2021, but I really got into it in 2022 when I wasn't making videos. I guess, you know, wasn't making videos, had to substitute it with something, and now I'm into both, which is great. Filmmaking and writing go hand in hand pretty often, so it's good that I'm interested in both, and I love to focus on both topics, both cinematic arts and literary arts. I like both those things, they're both my forte, so I wanted to just kind of talk to you guys about that. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I feel like I don't even know where I specifically started to like to write, because I've always liked to write. Like I was talking about my last video, I've always been into art, different kinds of forms of art, and I think it more started with music, and I really got into music. I got really into reading lyrics of songs as I was listening to them, because I just found it really fascinating to read the stories as I was listening to the stories. And then I tried to write my own songs. They kind of really sucked, like when I was like in middle school, and so I just kind of gave up on that. But I did advanced writing in 8th grade, like as an elective in 8th grade, and I really enjoyed that, and especially the poetry unit. I found myself very much interested in the poetry unit, and that was probably where I should have known that I was going to be into poetry. Oh my goodness. Anyway, sorry, Theo was spamming me, but anyway, as I was saying, so I probably should have known back in 8th grade that I was gonna be into poetry, but whatever. Oh, and in 4th grade I won a poetry contest. I forgot about that. Yeah, in 4th grade I entered a poetry contest for my elementary school that was Earth Day themed, so it was an Earth Day poem, and I won the contest. There was a winner from each grade, and I was in 4th grade, and I won for 4th grade, and then there was a winner overall, and that was me. And I probably should have known back then that I was gonna be into poetry, but whatever. So I honestly at different life points in my life have been really into poetry and creative writing in general. And back in like, I want to say like the beginning of 2021, beginning middle-ish, March, April-ish is when I like started to write a memoir, because I realized that I had picked up writing more towards the end of 2021 into the beginning of 2022. I was really just kind of writing poetry, writing short stories, and just writing random things to myself, journaling, things like that, writing about my own life. And I found that I was like, wow, I really like this whole writing thing. I really like this whole poetry thing. I really like this whole rhythm with words thing. So I'm gonna like do it more. And so that's what I did, and I started writing a memoir. And actually I was writing it from like March, April-ish until like August, and then I kind of just stopped. And I literally stopped at like 45,000 words in it. My goal was to get to 60,000, and I kind of just got really distracted with other things in life, and just I got a lot of it done and then didn't finish it. And so recently, actually today, is when I decided, you know what, I'm gonna finish the memoir, because I already have so much of it done. I spent so much time writing all of that. I am not wasting all of that material, and now I have even more stuff to add from the end of last year into the beginning of this year. So I think that's always a good thing when I have all of that done, and I was trying to get to a certain goal, and then I have more stuff to write, so I'm sure I can get to that goal now, especially because a lot of stuff happened towards the end of last year, but that's another topic for another time. But basically that's like the beginning of how I got into starting to write, and now the kind of genres I write is all over the place. Like I have an Upwork contract writing for Snapchat compilation voiceovers, and then I also write articles about celebrities. I write a lot of different things on Vocal, as I've talked about. I've written 2 articles about celebrities so far, which are Juice WRLD and Taylor Swift, who are my favorites. I'm actually doing a 3-part article series on the Taylor Swift one. I only wrote one of them so far on the first 3 of her albums, just because it was like breaking down her discography and stuff like that, and she has a very expansive discography, so it's gonna take a few articles. But that's that. I write a lot of of creative short stories. Like I wrote a sci-fi kind of one for a challenge for vocal that was called Curiosity of the Unknown, and that's on my vocal account. I like to write a lot of creative things, but I also like to write self-help articles, mostly articles, short stories, creative writing, poetry, that kind of thing is what I'm into. Script writing sometimes too. But yeah, so how I got into writing my anthology book was that I realized that I had written a bunch of poems, and then I was like, you know what, I could put a lot of these poems like in a particular order and then make it into a book. So that's what I did, and it's called An Erratic Anthology of My Psychology because it's an erratic anthology of my psychology, literally. So it's basically different poems about different emotions, and it's kind of in a specific order that makes sense. It starts with a poem called Initiation and it ends with a poem called Conclusion, and I really enjoyed the whole process of formatting it all and just putting it all together and just touching it up and making the cover. And I drew the little design of the brain with a pencil. I drew that myself, and obviously you can see my little signature on the little corner of it because I drew that myself and I designed all of this myself. Basically, I originally published the book under a different publisher, and that publisher screwed me over big time. I'm not going to name what publishing company that was, but it was like a platform where you can self-publish your books, and basically I published it through there and they screwed me out of so much money. Like the royalties were just shit, and like they were never updating who was buying my book. According to their end, only one person bought one book, which I know wasn't true because people were coming up to me with their books that they bought, which was more than one person, and also that one person paid like $22 for the book and I got 39 cents from that sale, and I wasn't okay with that. So I basically retired the book on that publication website. I don't know when it's gonna go away because it's still on different websites where you can buy books like Barnes & Noble and Amazon, like the hardback cover. Don't buy that one because I'm working on making a new hardback cover that is actually approved by me from the Amazon publishing platform that I moved on to after, which is a lot better, a lot more organized. I get a lot more money from it for the book that I wrote myself and published myself. I really didn't like the way that they handled it, and there was also no really way to contact them. The only like support line was like an automated bot thing, and it's like there was no number on their website that you could call to contact them. It was just like a ticket thing. It's not good. So I retired the book on that. I closed my account and I republished my book through the Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, and it's a lot better that way. So just for now, if you see the hardback cover of my book on any website, don't buy it because I'm not gonna get any money from it. If you buy the book that's the paperback or Kindle from Amazon, that's how I get the money. So I'm just going to just urge you just to not buy the book that I'm not gonna get any money from. I appreciate it. But as for poetry specifically, poetry, if you don't know, is basically just a form of writing that uses rhythm and rhyme schemes to keep a steady pace and to intensify emotions and visualizations in the writing. And before I got into poetry, I was doing more articles and short story kind of formats, and I've always been a very intense person, and poems are meant to use style and rhythm to intensify emotions and visualizations and imagery. So I felt like I'm an intense person, I like to write, why don't I write poetry? It worked out pretty well, I would say, and I have found myself to be extremely passionate about it. I found myself to be extremely articulate and eloquent when I write poetry, and I respect other poets. I love to read other poetry. I love to just write poetry. Like even if I don't plan on turning it into a full poem, I just write couplets to myself and random things all the time. I literally just will pull out my notes app or a journal and just write a random stanza that I think of, and then I wind up like combining a bunch of stanzas that I write into a whole poem. So that's one process I use, but also sometimes I literally just like to sit down and just write and write and write. Like I said in my last video, same thing for filming, but I literally just like to sit down and write a lot of stuff, and then I will just scribble things out as I go and add things as I go and edit as I go. And usually I'll do that handwriting and then I'll transfer it into a doc on my computer because I just prefer to handwrite initially. I've always preferred to do that. I always feel like when I actually physically handwrite things, first of all, I remember it more, it sticks in my brain more, and I have a lot more freedom to cross things out and scribble all over it. And also, as I mentioned, I've also really always been into reading song lyrics and really thinking about the meanings of songs and their lyrics, especially Taylor Swift. She's just another level of genius when it comes to lyricism, and I admire her so much for it. And obviously as a poet myself, as a young girl myself who likes music and poetry and writing, I admire her very much, and I admire her storytelling abilities very much. She's been doing it since she was younger than me now, and you gotta respect the girl. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking about Taylor Swift now. I'm sorry, I've become like a really diehard fan of her over the past year and I love her, but I'm going to stop talking about her now. So I'm just going to read an example. I have a little example here in my little notebook, just a little excerpt of poetry that I wrote, and I just kind of want to just read a little example of poetry that I wrote, kind of explain it a little bit. It just says, "When we met in May, you swept me away, never there to play, only there there to stay. You are a treasure, you are a pleasure, and I'll be there forever if you never surrender. So basically how I wrote that is I use a rhyming scheme and a syllable pattern. So it's A, if you couldn't tell. May, away, play, stay, treasure, pleasure, forever, surrender. And then the syllables are 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 7, 7. So it's first stanza, each line is 5 syllables, and then the second stanza, the first 2 lines are 5, and the second 2 lines are 7. I do kind of that kind of format where I think about the syllables and the rhyme scheme. Honestly, I write first, and then I'll think of what kind of rhythm and scheme I want, and how many syllables I want in each line, and then I'll just kind of reformat the words that I already have into that. So that's another way I do it. I feel like if more people wrote poetry, more people would know how to express themselves, I feel, because I just feel like poetry is such a way to express yourself. Like poetic rhyming and poetic themes, poetic analogies and metaphors and language and all that stuff, like it's such an articulate way to express how you feel or what you're thinking, or if you're reading it, what you can really feel what that person that wrote it is feeling, and it's such a cool thing in that way. So I would highly recommend to anybody to write poetry. Like there's no need to publish it, there's no need to show anybody your work. I do it because I want to do that, I want to show other people my work, but a lot of people, they just like to write for themselves, and that's perfectly fine. Like don't feel any pressure to show other people your work. Literally just get a journal and write for yourself, and you'll feel so much better. It's so cathartic to just get the things out of here onto the paper. I mean, I wouldn't like set expectations. I went into it with my expectations low as shit, that I was gonna suck and everything I wrote was gonna suck, and that probably wasn't the best mentality to have. But then once I did write, I realized that I didn't suck. So I went into it with low expectations, but I came out of it feeling really good about it because I had such low expectations at the beginning. So my advice is to find somewhere in the middle there, is to not set your expectations too high, like, oh, I'm gonna be this genius level poet, but I'm also like, I wouldn't put yourself in the mindset that's like that I was. It's like I suck at everything. So I would just find somewhere in the middle where it's like you feel confident enough to do it, but you're not cocky either. So I feel like that's a good way to approach your mindset going into it. Honestly, my most poignant piece of advice that I can give you about writing creatively, writing poetry, is simply to look around you. There is inspiration everywhere. Like literally just look around your bedroom, look around outside, look around your car, look at the people around you. All you have to do is look around you and you'll find something to be inspired about to write about. I hardly ever get writer's block because I've always been able to find something to inspire me. I'm very aware of my surroundings, and I like to just look around. I like to just observe. I've always been an observant person. I like to people watch. I like to just look at the trees outside my bedroom window. I like to just stare at my cute dog or whatever. And I find inspiration for writing or for even videos that way. So yeah, that about covers most of what I want to discuss when it comes to writing, how I got into it, poetry, my book. So yeah, I really would appreciate you guys if you could buy my book, buy yourself a copy. I'm gonna put a link in the card there, but I'm also gonna leave a link in the description box. I'm also gonna leave it on my end card. So there's gonna be several different ways that you can go buy my book. So if you guys feel like supporting me, then I would really appreciate it. Don't feel pressure to buy my book if you don't got the money, but I would really appreciate it if you could. What I just want to end this with is just all of you are beautiful people, all of you are capable people, all of you have a lot of potential, and sometimes I feel like someone needs to slap y'all in the face and just make that clear. You guys are beautiful people, and you have so much to look forward to in life, and you have so many capabilities and talents and skills. Sometimes you just haven't found yet. Sometimes people just struggle with finding what they're really good at, but they are good at something. Everybody is good at something. And for me, it's artistic, creative type things like writing and filmmaking. And for you, it could be doing math. For you, it could be doing engineering, being a teacher or something. But literally, people are so good at so many different kinds of skills, and sometimes you just gotta find it. And the important thing is to try different things so that you can find it. And that's what I did. I found what I like to do early on, and I'm really lucky that I found that. But if that's not you, that's still okay. You still have plenty of opportunities to try new things and find things that you like to do and find things that you're good at. I'm just slapping you in the face right now, making that clear. I love you guys. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Leave me a comment down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!